Welcome, friends, in and of an awakening world. And we are in the Yoga Sutras in the second chapter in the so-called original Ashtanga Yoga, the 8 limbs of this yogic path that helps you to actually recognize your true self, which is you as consciousness, you as pure awareness. And it's such a holistic path because it also describes all the different experiences that come from this deeper recognition of what you essentially are. And the Yoga Sutra I want to talk about today is 243. It he's talking about the niyamas. And one of the niyamas is tapas. And the sutra is kaya indriya siddhi ashuddhikshayata tapasaha. That sutra means that what is tapas? It is to get mastery over what? The body, kaya, and indriya, the senses, and ashuddhikshayata, to remove impurities. What's our greatest impurity is this total delusion about what we are. This fundamental ignorance that is actually not that we are born with, but that we are conditioned. We are conditioned to believe, to be trapped somehow inside this body-mind. We forgot that we are divine. We forgot that we are infinite intelligence. We forgot that we aren't found inside this body. And because we believe it, that's why we believe in the finite. That's why we believe in limitation. That's why we believe in impossibilities for ourselves. And that's where all the suffering also comes from, because we're so identified with our mind and whatever the mind actually conjures up in our day, which is like a conglomerate oftentimes of stipulations that are often also limiting and that are for most people not even so positive. It isn't, most people have really negative self-belief, self-worth, all these kind of things. They come from this conditioned egoic structure. And what you want to know is yourself as pure awareness, as infinite. And it isn't something that is only there for a select few. It is what you actually already are. It's just a complete different understanding of what you are, that you have to relearn. You have to learn what is actually that self, that true self, you as pure awareness. And apart from understanding this conceptually, you will have to discover this. This only happens by tapas. That's why this sutta is also so relevant. There has to be a certain fire. That's why tapas often also is associated with heat. You're bringing heat. We know to bring heat into our structure for like sports or, if you want to be fit or, um, but anything actually that you want to achieve also in your life, you need a certain passion for it. You need a certain fire for it. You need to burn for it. And the same is a bit true for self-realization. You have to be single-minded. This has to be this has to be what you deeply wish for, what you deeply want. Has to be the deepest desire, deeper desire than all the other desires that are perpetuated by your mind. So tapas is this burning. I'm burning for self-knowledge. I'm burning for the divine. I'm burning for finding out what I am. I'm burning to step out of suffering. I'm burning for all these things, or one of these things, deeply enough. I'm burning for truth. I'm burning for reality. I'm burning for infinite intelligence. All this has to has to motivate you deeply enough that you actually do tapas, discipline. The discipline that you are asked to do is really, really difficult in the beginning. And that's where it's so contradictory for so many people, because what you essentially are, everyone essentially is. You already are that. But you are so conditioned to believe yourself to be the mind. You have many lifetimes, not just decades. You have many lifetimes of identifying with this body mind. You have many lifetimes in which you believed yourself to be this. And you might have heard about the self, but how strongly is this really your interest, your direction, your orientation in your life? Do you have the discipline to actually sit down and not just observe what is happening in your mind, but observe the mind? That's the greatest tapas. It is not to take on thoughts. You sit as what you are, as pure awareness, you witness. It involves not following down thoughts. It involves you staying as what you are and not following the leads, the tracks, the ideas, however tempting they are. And in this way, like your outer journey in life, some of those journeys are also obviously they are important. They are your soul's expression. They show already your distinct purpose. Some of them are also very adventurous. Some of them are very distinct, what all you encounter, how heroic you have been probably in your life, the challenges you've met, all these things, all these catalysts, they perpetuate your path. They perpetuate your distinct unfolding of this divine spectacle that you actually are. But this inner path, this inner journey, this inner discovery is also heroic. It is also a tapas. To sit down in the beginning as what you are and not to identify and not to take on what the mind suggests is also heroic. You will have to have tapas, discipline. And the mind will come up with more and more interesting things, stuff that is seemingly so interesting for you specifically, where your identity is wrapped around. This can be that you sit down and you're able to detach and stay as pure awareness for many, many thoughts. But then there are suddenly insights coming. And then you are again in the thinking mode of the mind. The mind has caught you. All these things you will have to drop these thoughts, drop these kind of mechanisms of the mind. Again, it's a practice. It is something you practice fast sitting down in meditation. And as you learn to observe, you will see that your observing capacity, that what you essentially are, awareness, being simply aware of, or not even having to go into contents, but being aware of mind is strengthened. It's like a spiritual muscle that you strengthen. You will see that it starts to actually also expand in your life. You simply are going to be more aware of the mind. There is a distance that starts to creep in and is created. And that distance is then also actually created to your pain body, to those things that you have identified with that have caused you suffering, ideas about yourself, beliefs about yourself, self images, trauma, all these kind of things that sometimes are upheld as an identity that really starts to become very, very contracted actually, and no longer believing in possibility and limitlessness in yourself as divine, as infinite, as capable of feats that are not normal. All these kind of things. You will also actually create distance from it. It's an enormous freedom that starts to set in once you know yourself as not this what is thought about as thoughts, as perceptions, as sensations. So tapas, discipline, what does it do? Patanjali says, Kaya Indriya Siddhi, body and Indriya, the senses, Siddhi, mastery, victory. You gain mastery over what is stipulated to be you, namely your body and senses. It isn't what you essentially are. It isn't what you need to identify with. And you gain victory over these, over what is supposed to be stipulated as you as the body, or your sense perceptions, what the senses continuously suggest to you, what the senses want you to believe in or identified with. This is Siddhi, mastered, and the impurities, the beliefs, the ignorance ultimately, avidya, your ignorance, ignoring your true self, ignoring your divinity, ignoring your limitlessness, ignoring the love, the wisdom, the truth of what you are. This is removed. Ashuddhikshayate. These impurities are removed. The storylines that defined you or seemingly defined you and your life are removed. This sutta talks about this inner discipline. Meditation is a discipline. Inquiring into the self is discipline, niyama, an orientation also for yourself, tapas, discipline, a fire, taking this seriously, investing in stopping all mind stuff several times per day, starting to even get in touch with what you are before thought, even knowing this by stopping thoughts, seeing, hey, I still exist in these pauses, in these moments in which there are no thoughts, in moments of cessation. I exist prior. And then inquiring, what is that which is prior? It is that awareness. How can I come into touch more with that awareness of what I am? By meditating and not taking on thoughts. Continuously dropping all storylines, however interesting they are. And in that way, you find you are your own inner hero. Every meditation is heroic. You're stepping out of mind, stepping out of conditionings. You're stepping out of beliefs. You're stepping out of stories, however interesting they are. You're allowing that which exists prior, independently in the midst, to actually come stronger to the foreground. You're allowing something different, something more universal and something larger to infuse your life again. Sutra 243 talks about one of the niyamas, tapas, fire, burning for awakening, burning for knowing yourself, burning for remembering the love that you are. Namaste.